All right, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Mail Stand. Now, if you've seen this series before, you do not need to listen to the intro. Check the comment section. There's a pinned comment with a timestamp. Just click on it and you will skip this. If you're new to the channel and you've not seen the Mail Stand before, please just hear me out. Right. So basically, the Mail Stand is a feature where I read out emails that I have received. Now, these emails could be from someone I've known for 3 decades through the website, or they could be from a complete stranger that I do not know from Adam, right? So when I read these emails to you, I just want you to take them with a huge pinch of salt. I could be reading something to you and thinking, what a load of fucking, do you know what I mean, right? Or I could be thinking, I wish I could tell them a bit more about who this person is. It's purely for your information. It's purely a bit of fun to show you the kind of stuff that I receive in the background. Now, I'm going to read this email to you word for word, but I leave out like little bits that you don't need to know. Like this person is known to me, and they intro the email basically saying what they've been up to and stuff like that. So you don't need to know that. What I'm going to do is read the contents that I know you'll be interested in, and then you can, digest it, you can dismiss it, you can believe it, whatever. It doesn't really matter, does it? But you can leave a comment if you want. Let me know what you think. It's an interesting one, to be honest with you. So yesterday, I did a Mail Stand video yesterday, and during that, I can't even remember what it was about. I think it was about Mark Gay, and I think that during that I said, look, there's a Mail Stand video, email or whatever pending, but I didn't understand the email that was sent to me. So I reached back out to the author and I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand the context of the email, because what they said was, it was from about 4 or 5 days ago now. And they said, with regards what was in the Spanish press. And then they started to tell me something about Konaté. And you know what my memory is like. I was like, I can't remember what the Spanish press said this morning, never mind 4 or 5 days ago. So I followed up and I told you, as soon as the author gets back to me, I will update you. And here it is, okay? So if you see me hesitating or anything with the email, it's just because I don't want to read any, confidential stuff out or anything like that. So this is where it begins for us, really, right? Okay. Basically, it was saying that the press release about Real Madrid losing interest in Konaté is simply games by them to force Konaté into signing when he can in January. They are doing so because PSG have made contact to inquire about his interest in joining them instead. I will tell you how this person, their contact, if you like, I refer to them as X, Mr. X or whatever. I will tell you how Mr. X knows in a different email just for you. And I have received that email, which I obviously cannot read to you. However, if you look at some of PSG players and their agents, it is self-explanatory. Real really want Konaté, and Konaté really wants Real. However, Liverpool are still looking for further proof to report Real to the governing bodies, right? We'll come to that in a minute. And in brackets, it says they have a lot of circumstantial evidence, such as the Spanish teacher Trent used, Trent Arnold used, has been noticed at Konaté's house in recent weeks, allegedly. So in summary, Real are sending a warning, so to speak, to Konaté to sign in January. And then it goes on to say, if I'm making no sense, which is because I'm knackered, blah, blah, blah. Right, so I'm going to go back over it again with you. This was received on the 23rd of September at 22:37, so that was last night. 22:37 Madrid time, of course. So I just want to go through it just in case like I've butchered it a little bit, but I haven't. I don't think I have. So I remember now what this was. There were suggestions that Real Madrid, do you remember the articles coming out in, I think it might have been AS. I review the Spanish papers every day. So if you've got a good memory, you'll remember this. So it was about a week ago that I think they were talking about Upper Macamo, is that his name? I can't remember. Previously, we saw Saliba mentioned, and it started to sound like maybe, Real Madrid were having doubts. I remember now. It said Upper Macamo was seen as more, a better player, but Konaté, because he's available, would be available for free. was obviously the one that they would have to go to, right, for financial reasons. And I remember saying at the time, this is exactly what happened last year with Trent. Do you remember? They were saying, that the board was like split. Like, well, we think there was the defender at Tottenham, but he would cost 70 million or something like that. Tottenham had to negotiate with. So Trent might not be the better player here, but he's free, so it makes financial sense. And that was basically what the Madrid media were reporting about a week ago, that people at the club had identified other players that were better in their opinion than Konaté, but because Konaté would be free, it made sense to go for him. So that is what that's about. But what this person is saying is that is basically Real Madrid putting pressure on Konaté. In other words, it said here, if they can get into, it was January, what was it? To force Konaté to sign him when he can in January. In other words, I guess commit to, the what's it called? Pre-contract signing or whatever when it becomes available. Yeah, okay. The bit that I found interesting was about this suggestion that Trent's, what's it say? Trent's Spanish teacher had been noticed at Konaté's house in recent weeks, allegedly. It's always important to use that word. Now, if you remember yesterday, I touched on this yesterday, and I've touched on it previously when talking about this. The suggestion is that Liverpool, feel that that Real Madrid are tapping up, all right? And I find that a little bit difficult to believe. I'm not disputing the author of this email. They're obviously telling me what they've been told. But I don't know. All clubs do it, right? All clubs do it. And Liverpool have been fined for it before, or received a penalty for it many years ago. Was it Christian Ziege? I can't remember. And Liverpool do have a good relationship with Real Madrid. And if Real Madrid are sniffing around Konaté, what's the difference between that and us sniffing around Marc Guéhi? Do you know what I mean? So I find that bit a little bit difficult to believe, but I'm not, saying that I don't believe this author with their sincerity. So in summary, Real are sending a warning, so to speak, to Konaté to sign in January. And that's it. Now, maybe that doesn't sound very exciting to you, or maybe it sounds a bit clunky or whatever, but this is the real world, right? If I was to take that email and splice it up in a way that would be more sensationalized or easier to read, maybe that would lure people in. Do you know what I mean? But this is that's the exact text that I'm reading to you. This is the real world, guys. Now, I do think Konaté is going to go to Real Madrid. But Real Madrid continue to be linked with these other centre-backs. Marc Guéhi has not been mentioned in Madrid yet, or Barcelona. Neither of those two clubs have been credibly linked with Marc Guéhi. I just want to mention that because the British tabloids keep mentioning it. But I'm here, I'm in Spain. I check the 4 main Spanish football daily newspapers every day. All right, and I've done that for a very long time. And you should know that when you get out of bed in the morning, Big Dunk is sat in a cafe, all right, looking for stuff to do with Konaté and Guéhi. What we have seen from the Madrid media in the last couple of weeks is the suggestions that they are still looking at other centre backs. Konaté is still mentioned, but Saliba, Upamecano. For some reason, I feel like I'm not pronouncing his fucking name right. You know me and names. See, I don't run from a script, guys, when I do these videos. 3 days ago, Mark ran an article about Upamecano. Where's his contract? I will have said this the other day. His contract's up in 2026. And I think Saliba, his contract is up in 2026 as well. Oh, it says 2027. Sorry about that. So 2027, 2026. So those players would cost Real Madrid more money. But the suggestion from the Madrid-based media, if you believe them, is that insiders at the club think those two players are better options than Konaté. In other words, better options in terms of, as Rafa Benitez would say, quality. for sure. Like better skilled, better defenders. But the suggestion is that, no, but Real Madrid will still go for Konaté because it makes financial sense. And this is an absolute mirror of what they reported last year with Trent. Trent, there's other defenders out there they thought were better, but it would cost more money. So I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, right? I think Konaté is going there. If Konaté signed an extension with Liverpool imminently, like all of a sudden, what I would think of that is Real Madrid have closed the door on him. I think he wants to go to Real Madrid, regardless of any interest from PSG, who are an obvious link, right? But because I've seen those names thrown in Madrid, it makes you wonder if Madrid really are like, maybe not as keen on him as maybe he thinks, right? Or is it bluff, like in this email, is suggesting or implying like Real Madrid are using the press just to put a bit of pressure on him, like, hey, you need to commit to us, because if not, we'll go elsewhere. Let's say he's stalling or something like that. So that is possible. I don't know. What do you think? I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I need to think about it a little bit. To be honest with you, that's the first time I've read that email in full. So both make sense. The thing is, it's not coming from journalists that I particularly would pay attention to. Let me just look at the Upamecano article. I think that was Jose Felix Diaz, wasn't it? It'll load up on the screen. He writes for Marca, think Paul Joyce and Liverpool. Jose Felix Diaz is the closest journalist to Florentino Perez and Real Madrid. And it was Jose Felix Diaz, yes. Upamecano eyes the Bernabeu and offers himself to Real Madrid. I remember that article now, and that article was basically saying he'd instructed his agents to tell Real Madrid he wants to go there. Real Madrid think he's a great player, probably better than Konaté, but would cost, whereas Konaté is free. So that's all I can give you, really. I'm really sorry if I feel like I've not done a very good video for you, to be honest, but you could play this video back 1,000 times and I'm reading you exact word for word what the author wants you to hear, if you like. Well, not that they've asked me to tell you, but they're pretty okay with me doing that. I do have the other email here in front of it. Don't worry, I'm not going to read it out. And it does say in big capital letters, for you only. It's a very, very interesting email. It kind of, if you wanted me to explain it to you, it just kind of backs up and verifies a few things, a few topics that we've been discussing to do with Gueye, Konaté, Steven Gerrard, things like that, that we have discussed on here. So if you watch the Mail Stand or you watch videos on a regular basis on here, you'll probably be aware of the contents of this email anyway, but it's giving me an extra bit of verification, another layer of verification, if you like. So the author is basically saying, Dunk, this is, if like when I read an email to you, the author obviously knows I'm going to tell that to you, right? So they're not going all in on it. So what they're doing there privately is saying to me, look, Dunk, this is how this person knows this and knows that. Does that make sense? So it might not make you feel like you want to believe it, but it makes me think, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And what I will say to you is, no, I'm not going to go into it. I think that the author is interesting, and I would pay attention to it. But again, one thing we don't do on here, or one thing I don't do on here, is tell you, claim to be this, claim to be that. I'm trying to share with you the real world. All right, what really happens? I can make that sound exciting and sexy and post it on social media and get lots of views and things like that. But I don't do that. And 27 years I've been doing this. You get to know people. I can tend to spot bullshit. I get a lot of emails and things like that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the Mail Stand is a feature where I stress at the very beginning. Listen. I'm just telling you what someone's saying. It's not me telling you that. Do I believe it? Yeah, I do actually. I do believe it a bit. It sounds like the kind of thing Real Madrid would be doing. Do I know what will happen with Konaté? No, how the fuck do I know what's going to happen with Konaté? I'll leave that to the Twitter twats, that want to do stuff for engagement. It's an interesting one with Konaté. I'm still of the opinion that he will go to Real Madrid. To be honest with you, I thought I might see something about Konaté in the Madrid-based media this week. I thought we'd see something in Marca this week, but nothing's come out. In fact, that article there that Jose Felix Diaz wrote the other day, as far as I'm aware, that only went on the web. It didn't go in the print edition. I don't recall seeing that. That was published 3 days ago, and it hasn't gone in the print edition. And this is what I'm saying sometimes, some of these publications, newspapers, British newspapers, Spanish newspapers, whatever, they often use their websites to get articles out and then either don't put them in the print edition or change them slightly, right? So when people, obviously people do YouTube or podcasts or Twitter twats or whatever, they can access these websites. But the best thing about being here is I get to see the physical version, is that the right word? The print versions of them. And also by region. And it's just little things like that that create a bit of suspicion to me, right? Because it's on the website, Why is it not in the print edition, printed off? See, the print edition is very formal, very more serious. Jose Felix Diaz in a recent video stream, if you like, or video podcast, whatever you want to call it, was more in an informal environment. He was very much like, I think Konaté to Real Madrid is very advanced, yeah? But he hasn't put that in his articles in the print version of the newspaper, because the newspaper isn't really for saying, I think, whether we trust the newspapers or not, there has to be an air of credibility around them. So there's a bit of a difference between a journalist going, well, I think, to this is the situation. I think I'm probably boring you to death right now anyway. Right, I'll leave it there. Hopefully, you've got the message here from that email. If I've fucked it up, if I butchered it, let me know. All right, and I will respond in the comment section. Okay, I'll leave it with you. See, in my mind now I'm going, you need to do that video again, but fuck it, I won't do it again. That's the mail stand. I don't know, if you found the video informative, if you understood it, please thumbs up the video. Please drop me a comment. I'm selecting a comment of the day now. Every day I'm going to pick the best comment of the day, and then my morning briefing the next day I'm going to give away a Cop Talk VIP membership. So there's an incentive for you to comment my videos. Thumbs up the video if you did enjoy it or whatever. Under the video there is a love heart, it's a super thanks if you want to buy me a beer or a coffee. And again, I always give a shout out to everyone that does that on the morning briefings. Morning briefings are on the other YouTube channel, Duncan Oldham channel, links in the video description, and it's on the screen around about now. The comments that you guys leave, sometimes, collectively, together, we often work a lot of this shit out, don't we? Sometimes I'll record a video for you and I'll forget to mention something, and I'll see one of you guys put a comment and I'll go, oh, fucking hell, I was going to say that. Or sometimes you'll comment something and I'll think, I didn't think of that. So, I don't know, do you believe that email? I'm not asking you, the author of that email is sound, right? But I'm just do you think that is Real Madrid? When we saw them negative reports about a week ago, do you think that really is them putting a bit of pressure on him? Do you think that? Is that possible? Well, it's possible, but do you think that's what the situation is? And if that is the case, what is the player doing then? Is he refusing to commit because he's maybe leaving the door open on PSG? Or is he thinking, well, maybe Liverpool will come back and offer me a better deal? I don't think it is that. I don't think it is Liverpool. I don't think it is PSG. It could just be a gentle reminder from Real Madrid. I think the player wants to go there. I really do, guys. I really do. All right, I'll leave it with you. I think that's your lot from me today. Okay. Tomorrow, I guess I'll do a morning briefing. I've got a very busy day tomorrow. I've got some appointments, so I don't think you'll see much of me tomorrow. Okay, someone's just commented on my morning briefing. All right, guys, thumbs up, comment, beer, nice one. Cheers.